I'm Jenn Hicks. I'm a member of the Recreation Commission, Chestertown Recreation Commission, and I was here in December to propose the idea of developing a community playground and also doing an evaluation of our recreation needs as a town. We've, since Mayor Serino became mayor, we've, I think, expanded our recreation options in town. It's been very exciting. Our commission has come together a little bit over the past couple of years as well, so we're, I think, paralleling each other with our capacity to address this issue. Honestly, since Chris became mayor, we've had lots of friends who've had babies recently. It's been a big boom in my world, at least. And so the idea of playgrounds has really come up in a serious way. And the council had responded very positively to a playground idea. I think the big question was scope and location, or locations. And that was really a lot of what we were trying to get back. But I'll just quickly go over the recommendations. One, and this is what started it all, was to build a community playground area. And so there was a lot of enthusiasm around an idea of a larger playground, a la Easton and Tuckahoe, that type of size. And the reality is that it can't all happen, and I don't know, it would be difficult for it to be, that's such a large space at Bailey Park. That's a wonderful thing, but it's also daunting. You know, how big is too big? How, you know, what size are we talking about? I did a little research, and it seems like 100 by 100 area is a reasonable, you know, community playground size. And a lot of the playground equipment that I looked at, they really can accommodate ages 2 to 12, which is quite a nice span. And we recommend that we look at, the town looks at first phase as an immediate, immediate meeting in the next year. Action with amenities to ensure the accessibility, comfort, and safety of children and their adult caregivers. Recommendation 2 is, and this is even more immediate. There's a lot of concern about how there's really nothing in the downtown part of Chestertown, you know, for visitors, for their children. So the idea is to install a small playground unit along the Gilcrest Rail Trail, which ideally on the Ajax property. And I think there is a map that I included in these documents that show exactly where we're talking about at Ajax. So not removing the basketball court, but there's a patch of 30 by 30 patch of grass next to it. And I talked to Case, and he said that in fact is town property. And so so that is it's a feasible location for a small playground. Again, it sounds like it can be done if we get new equipment. It can be done for 2 to 12-year-olds. We also have the option of the playground set that's at the police station. I know that Chief Baker's very interested in having that removed. I don't blame him. There's, you know, a lot of good space there. We have looked into, we've asked one person or one company to estimate the cost of removing that and installing it in another location, and he gave me just under $10,000 as an estimate. And then that doesn't even include ground cover, so we'd have to add a couple more $1,000 for ground cover in that location. So that's our option. The playground set at the police station is actually for 2 to 5-year-olds. So that's the other limitation, and it's also 15 years old. And there's a lot of plastic in that set, which probably will last a little longer. But, you know, do we get the value? And the question is, you know, what works for the budget. So we do have a quote from Playground and Parks, and they work with Baltimore County, Hartford County. They have France. They were very enthusiastic. They were just driving through town. They contacted Brandt, said we'd love to meet. Just happened that I had a chance to meet with them. So they've been the one company I've had a chance to walk around town with, to show them the different places we're talking about. they have given us an $18,000 to $20,000 estimate for new equipment at Ajax. So that's something we'd like to see where things sit with town council on something to that extent, knowing that there's a lot of interest in seeing something like that in that kind of location. And the commission has also discussed the idea of something very minor at Wilmer as well in the immediate future, swing sets. And that could be a complementary, we'd have the climber at Ajax and a swing set at Wilmer. We have the budget as a commission to install something that is available at Stolfus, which is a vendor at up the road that's actually liquidating their products and are ready to sell us something for a price that our commission has the money for. So that would be something we'd like to get maybe even some response from the council about tonight. But obviously there's a lot more to talk about. The next recommendation is number 3, enhance the basketball court at Ajax. So we heard that people wanted that basketball court left at Ajax. Not only that, lines. Someone mentioned pickleball. Could that court be used for pickleball? We measured it. It seemed like it was a possibility. So we could. Pickleball it's like paddleball. It's getting to be really popular.
It's tennis played with a wiffle ball.
The little courts that used to be watched in college.
Yeah, something similar.
It's not platform tennis. It's like with a. Somebody said it back there.
It's tennis played with a wiffle ball on a smaller court.
Yeah. And so
there's somebody who is
the removable
eager
net
to kickstart a league in town, much like the bocce league,
and the net can be put up and taken down. All they need are lines on the macadam. So there could be foursquare. You could have multiple uses for that foursquare or for that macadam, but most certainly to make it so it's available for half-court basketball. And then there has been requests for maybe even having a lower basket attached so that younger kids can also be playing. So not only keeping it, but enhancing Ajax is another recommendation. Recommendation 4, evaluate the walkability and safe passage to all of the town's parks. So the Gateway, I know there's been a lot of discussion. The rail trail does connect, but the Flatland Road sidewalk, I know it's a state highway issue, but that's part of it. We want to keep that conversation going, and if we are enhancing Bailey Park, we have to think about how people can get from one end of town to the other to get there. And there was a lot of energy around the idea of extending the rail trail. Obviously that's into county land, so that's out of town's jurisdiction, but we can certainly advocate pretty heartedly. There is federal money. There can be ways to find funding to extend, and wouldn't it be great to extend it all the way to Wharton to the community center? And let's get it on the record that that's what this town wants. So that's a recommendation. And then 5, develop and finalize a land use plan for the remaining area of Bailey Park. So it's not, squeaky wheel gets the oil. There's some plan for that park. So everything is in its place, and so people are understanding what the vision is. And I did also I created a little bit of a draft plan, nothing that needs, not set in stone, but just to get an idea of what it could look like if we had something planned, bisecting, creating a path that bisects the park. That was discussed as an idea so people could get to the dog park a little easier from the Rolling Road entrance or from Heron Point. But to also then have things like volleyball, things for older kids. That was brought up a lot. What are kids who are older than 12 going to do in this town? And so there's equipment for older youth that we could consider in the future, and having a place for that ready to go when the money's ready, when the money is available. A fitness station, that was brought up a lot. And that you probably, I don't know if you can read the words inside those little areas on that map, but that's the fitness area, youth equipment, playground phase 1, phase 2, and then even a field area for soccer fields for U8 soccer when they don't need as much field. They don't need maybe as manicured field. They can practice on it more so than maybe play their games. But at least Chestertown kids have their own field for practice and don't have to go to Wharton. And on that map, you'll see there's also a parking lot that would have, our recommendation is we build a parking lot off of the Greenwood Road entrance that doesn't exist right now, but there was discussion that maybe we could create an entrance from Greenwood Road. So, again, I think it's really important that we think ahead and say, this is what we ultimately are looking to do with Bailey Park, and not just wait for money to tell us what we want to do, but to say, here it is, and then maybe actively look for that money. Recommendation 6, investigate the opportunity to establish and base a police athletic league or activities league type program at the new police station building on the corner of High Street and College Avenue. I will admit, I've not talked to Chief Baker or anybody from the police station, but it's something, I know the police, because of the fact they're moving into the neighborhood more so, it's a sign of wanting to connect with the community, in our opinion. This would be, enhancing it with some sort of program, could really, I think, speak volumes and also provide opportunities for kids in the area. And then recommendation 7, meet with members of the Kent County Board of Ed, the Kent County Public Schools, superintendent, and staff and faculty of Garnett Elementary to discuss the possibility of expanding the playground there at the elementary school. It's not in the town's jurisdictions, but we feel that maybe the town could be a convener to discuss this and to figure out what the future is for that playground area, knowing that the reality is that kids do play on it after school hours. It's right there for a lot of kids to reach, and a lot of people had asked what the possibility would be of making that a little bit more interesting for the kids. And I'm sure that the teachers at Garnett wouldn't mind to have a little bit more to work with when they're there. And so, after the recommendations on this document are the results from the survey. I thought you'd just be interesting for the council to see how it shook out. Like I said, we had over 220 respondents to our survey. And we had, I thought, a pretty interesting span of participants. So we have an age, I'm looking for there it is. Our highest age range of respondents are between 36 and 50 years old. We didn't get much under 20 to respond.
You did get the young parents, 21 to 35 or so,
Mm-hmm.
young kids.
Yep. Yep. So, we were happy with the response. We did get feedback that we didn't publicize this survey as well as we could have. So some people really wanted to respond who couldn't because it was too late.
These rural town residents?
Not all. 25% were not in town. 75% were. That was one of our questions.
I don't see anything in these recommendations that leads me to think that you took into account our plans that are going into effect this summer for the rehabilitation of the school at the the field at the middle school.
Right.
Which will have some of these amenities in it.
What I understand as far as amenities at the middle school is the track, baseball, soccer, a lacrosse wall, tennis courts, and basketball there.
And workout stations.
And workout stations. Okay, so
All around the track.
okay, great. Okay.
So,
All right.
And I agree with Liz's point. I mean, part of the crux of the issue seems as if, maybe we can do a better job with the overall outreach of the facilities that we have or that are coming online. I mean, a lot of these resources seem to be, minus the playground itself, we have already with Gateway Park, and the significant amount of resources that we're going to be pouring into the middle school. So it seems like, a lot of recreational resources for a town whose overall child population is trending downwards. And in addition to the community center providing bus services to the community center in Morton Park during the summertime. So, maybe one of the recommendations can be just better overall outreach,
Sure.
because we have a lot, and the playscape that we're considering at Wilmer Park, What's the progress on that by any chance? Pardon?
Case is
Just-
working on a grant right
So
now.
just grant money?
So, and we had a question about that. I mean, we have questions too as we did this. It's not like we have all the answers. We're trying to get up to speed on, I think one of the goals of this effort was to align what town's doing and what commission can help the town with. Certainly not competing with each other. We hope to be another arm for the council to, I mean, you now have some real good data from people. The feedback was there's nothing for the older youth to do over and over again. So we do have Gateway Park. We're going to have the middle school field. So that's, there needs to be information about that. We weren't 100% sure what was going to be at the middle school field. I'm glad to know the fitness area is. I know the Gateway Park has the basketball court and,
That's the main thing.
Yeah.
It's gonna have a couple picnic tables.
yeah.
I think the.
So you think about where do you want your 12 to 17-year-old to go?
Yeah.
Well, my guys skate all over town on the rail trail and
Yeah.
wind up kinda
And
all
the
over.
really little,
Yeah.
and the little kids. I
And the
think
little kids,
that's
right,
the gap that we
Mhm.
don't have a public
Right.
playground yet.
Right,
And we're not gonna have that at the middle school.
right.
And, I mean, I'd like to congratulate you on this study, because I think it's exactly what we've been hoping the Recreation Commission could.
Right. And it can be expanded upon, this document's available, and communication is key, right? And so now we have 60, 70 people who have shown direct interest in this discussion, and we have a way to communicate directly. We could, one of the things we were hoping to do, or I was thinking, gosh, I'm going to make sure I'm speaking for the commission, but is to invite all those people who responded, came to the public meeting and responded to the survey, and have them come to one of our next Recreation Commission meetings and to fill out more, and to communicate it'd be great to have a nice, the rendering of what the middle school is going to look like once it's finished, and an overview of what's at Gateway Park. For those who aren't going to show up, who aren't going to go to Gateway Park because it's just not on their route, but they want to know it's there. I mean, and an inventory is just really important. A lot of towns actually have what's considered a recreation comprehensive plan, and it's basically an inventory of all their parkland. And I sort of did that with this survey. If you did the survey, you see that you spent a whole page going through all the parks that are available and what exists currently in Chestertown. So people weren't going to say, well, we need a dog park. Well, we have a dog park, okay? So we don't need to be talking about that. So I wanted everybody to be up to speed, just like Sam was saying, so that everybody knew what was there. Now, Case got back to me and said you didn't represent the middle school as clearly as you could have, and I apologize. So then one of the things I wanted to do is to really be clear about what is coming, what is already here, and what's possible. And what I also would like to be able to do is to say what's possible for the future based on people's feedback. I mean, I think if people see like their voice is a direct connection to what they said in the survey, is a direct connection to what happens in Chestertown. I mean, it doesn't. I like to say about this area, it doesn't take much. We're a small county. These types of activities, when there's a quick response to this type of feedback, people seem to be very encouraged by it.